So let's talk about how you work that out in Shopify or whatever you're using. How much stock? Okay, Paul says I should be holding 3 months because my lead times are 2 months and I want 30 days safety. Or Paul says I should hold 4 months because my lead times are 3 months and I need another month's safety, whatever. Some of you might have like 1 month lead time, so you need to hold 2 months. That means you'll always be a really cash positive business, which is super. The quicker your lead times, the better, which is why it's sometimes good to hold stock. In this week's edition of the eHustle, I talk about how to grow cash in your online business very, very quickly. Now, as always, if you like the eHustle, don't forget to rate it 5 stars, like it, share it. All of that sort of stuff really helps. So today, I'm going to talk about the concept of bootstrapping a business. And I want to just start by explaining what I mean by bootstrapping. And there's a bit of a misconception here. So a lot of people think bootstrapping is just not borrowing money. So I haven't gone to the bank to borrow money. I've funded it myself. Yeah, it's to an extent, but real bootstrapping is funding it out of the proceeds of the business. So in other words, I sell some product, using the profit of that product, I buy some more product and so on and so on. So it's kind of, from day one, it's just funding itself. So that's really what bootstrapping means. And I'm going to tell you how to do it today. And there's a few strategies that I've got that you might be able to help into your business. So if sounds good, stick around. It's not too good to be true. It can happen. I've seen it many, many times. So what's the core idea behind this strategy? So that's a good question. It's a great place to start. So the idea is simple. It's to structure your ordering of your stock and your payment terms along with your sell-through targets in a way that allows your sales to fund your next order, or actually to pay for your existing order. All right. So that might seem a little bit unachievable, but let's start at the basics. And if we can apply this system right at the start, you'll start accumulating a lot of cash really, really quickly. It'll be a game changer for you. And obviously that's going to strengthen your balance sheet, but also your cash flow in general. So it's one thing to be profitable, but profitable companies go insolvent every day. So we want to be profitable, of course. We always talk about the need for a 20% or more net profit, but we also want a lot of cash to pay ourselves, to fund the growth, all that sort of stuff, to live a good life. So let's get straight into it with the first one. Now, the first question is, how much stock should I order at any one time? And there's no rule for everybody. So I'm going to explain how to calculate it. So let's start with your cover target. And if you don't know what cover is, it means inventory cover. And I'll explain that term to you now. So if I'm making $100,000 a week and my KPI for how much stock on hand, SOH, I should have is 12 weeks, then I need to hold 12 weeks worth of forward cover or forward planned sales. So if I'm making $100,000 a week, I need to hold $1.2 million, which is enough stock to last for 12 weeks worth of sales. Let's use another number. If I was selling $1,000 a week in a little side hustle, and my KPI was 12 weeks, then I would need 12,000. Now, the 12 weeks, 12,000 worth of stock, that is. Now, the 12 weeks is not for everybody, and I'll explain how I got to that level, and you should work it out for yourself. So the formula for how much cover to hold or how much stock to hold is simple, right? Take your lead times and add safety stock. Okay, what do lead times mean? If I place an order today on this t-shirt, when will I get it into my warehouse ready to sell? Might be 30 days to manufacture. It might be another 30 days to send it by sea. My lead time is 2 months. And it's simple. If I've got an 8-week lead time and I don't have safety stock, this is what happens. My shipment lands, I start selling it, and maybe after 30 days or so, I say, hey, I need to reorder that size and that color, and that one's doing really well. So I place the order after, say, 30 days. But it takes me 2 months to get the stock in. So I'm going to have to order and then be out of stock for 30 days until the next shipment comes in. So the safety stock eliminates that out of stock period. And if you're constantly selling out of your best sellers, this is happening to you and you need to listen. Now, the other thing is being out of stock of grade A products is one of the key reasons your conversion rate might be low. And it's usually one of the quickest ways to plug a gap in your business to then grow. It's all about plugging gaps in business to grow, not necessarily doubling down on just what's doing well. So let's talk about safety stock. Now, safety stock is a period of time that allows you to get some sales data and reorder, before and still stay within your lead times. So let's talk about this scenario again, where I've got 30 days to make this t-shirt, 30 days to ship it in, and then I want another 30 days safety stock. So that means 3 lots of 30 days, that's 90 days. So I need 3 months. Instead of 2 months cover, I'm buying for 3 months. Why? Well, order this t-shirt. For 30 days, I get some sales data. I reorder what's doing well. Grade A product, does well, drives 80% of the revenue. I'm ordering that size. I'm replacing my orders in 30 days. So that means if I've ordered for 3 months cover, as my stock is starting to sell out in the 3rd month, my next shipment is coming in just in time. And it's the whole principle of not over-ordering, because over-ordering is just going to kill your business, but not under-ordering so that we're out of stock. So this is how you meet that difference. Now, if you've run these numbers for yourself and you say, well, my lead times are 5 months plus safety stock, that's 6 months, you're going to need a big cash runway to run that business. So just be mindful. It's okay. Some businesses are like that. But the ideal scenario is to turn your inventory 4 times a year, which means the ideal scenario is try and get your lead times under 60 days so that you're not having to hold more than 12 weeks worth of stock. If you hold less than 12 weeks worth of stock and you're not selling out, you'll be pretty cash positive. If you're having to hold 6 months, the more stock you have to hold, the tighter you're going to be on cash flow. And because one of the key drivers to sales growth is product drop. You're going to see this year a lot of brands starting to creep into new categories, and it's already being done, right? We've got to do the same. We've got to creep into new categories, do more product extension. You need money to do that. And if you're buying 6 months worth of stock, you're probably not even recouping your money until month 2 or 3. But I'm asking you to drop stock every month, depending on what industry, or in fashion, maybe every week, some of them. So your money's going to be tied up in your stock. We don't want that. So if you're in the 6-month territory, I'm super nervous for you in terms of how much stock or cover you're holding. So let's talk about how you work that out in Shopify or whatever you're using. How much stock? Okay, Paul says I should be holding 3 months because my lead times are 2 months and I want 30 days safety. Or Paul says I should hold 4 months because my lead times are 3 months and I need another month's safety, whatever. Some of you might have like 1 month lead time, so you need to hold 2 months. That means you'll always be a really cash positive business, which is super. The quicker your lead times, the better, which is why it's sometimes good to hold stock. Buy from stock. And I've done another episode on, what I would do if I had 10K to start a business right now. Nevertheless, let's get back to this point. So Paul said order 3 months worth of stock. Again, what's right for you, not just what I'm saying, right? The rules apply to you for your business. Okay, so how do I know what 3 months worth of stock is? If it's a reorder, go into your Shopify data and look at what you've sold on average over the last 30 days, right? As long as you weren't on sale or anything like that. Take that and multiply your average daily sales by 90. That means your average daily sales times 90 gives you 90 days worth of cover of that product. If you do that and you don't meet your MOQs, your minimum order quantities, you're in a bit of trouble. Now, you might be in early days and you might be growing, and that's okay. You'll get close to those MOQs. But if you're not in your early days and you do those numbers and your grade A stock, you only reorder your grade A stock, maybe some grade B, that you do that and you say, well, I've done that and I'll sell 90 t-shirts, in 3 months, but my supplier wants 200. That's not going to work. You've got to kill that supplier off or be rapidly growing. And that's a lot of pressure. So don't order for your supplier's MOQs, order the MOQs that are right for your business, right? So that's a big little test of whether your pants are too big for you at this stage, whether your MOQs are too big for you. It's really, really important. Now, don't forget to apply a growth rate. So if your company is growing, anticipated to grow 30% over the next 3 months, then add 30% to what I just said. So again, I'm going to sell 90 t-shirts over 90 days, but we're growing 30% over that 3 months, so add 30% to the order. Right? Make sense? That's how you do it. Okay? There's softwares out there that will charge you thousands of dollars and work that out for you, but that's really how you do it. All right. So the goal is have enough stock to meet your goals, but don't be overstocked, don't be understocked. Right. Now, how do I price my strategy, or how does pricing come into this strategy? So it's pretty easy. Let's say that we're working on a 70% margin. Now, we need a 70% margin. It's pretty important to aim for higher than that if you can. So if your margin is 70%, your cost of goods sold is 30%. If your margin's 80%, your cost of goods sold is 20. The two numbers must equal 100. If your margin is 60%, your cost of goods sold is 40%, right? That's how it works. So let's work on 70% margin. How do I price for a 70% margin? Well, we've got another episode on pricing, but the short answer is your landed cost divided by your COGS expressed as a decimal. So your landed cost divided by 0.3 will give you a 30% COG or a 70% margin. You want to do that for 80%? Your landed cost divided by 0.2 will give you an 80% margin. Add GST or tax or sales tax onto the top of that. So what we're doing at the moment is we're getting our pricing nice and high, which is good. We're just going to come back to sell-through and so on in a minute, but now we're going to talk about payment terms. Now, all of you should be negotiating payment terms with your supplier. It doesn't matter if you're from US, Australia, China, wherever you're manufacturing, you should have payment terms. Payment terms, they can be tricky, right? And so some of you will be kind of blown away by the fact that these terms exist. But the ideal payment terms to negotiate are zero deposit. So you pay nothing up front. The next ideal is that you pay the balance of the purchase order 30 days after receipt of the goods. So in other words, you're paying nothing. The order comes in after 30 days of selling it. You're paying for the goods. Now you might think I'm on nothing like that. I'm on a typical Chinese terms would be 30% deposit, 70% balance before shipment. It doesn't have to be that way. Heaps of my clients have taken trips to China recently and worked really hard and come back with, and businesses of all sizes, come back with really good payment terms that I've just described. Some of them are on zero deposit with 120-day payment terms, but 30 days is fine under this model and it's achievable. If you need to start that conversation, maybe go to China or go and visit your supplier and explain why. This will allow you to bootstrap your growth, right? So you can apply this logic to your supplier. But absolutely, this is how you start printing money, right? So getting your suppliers to fund the growth of your business as opposed to the banks or, you selling your house to fund your business and so on. Why is that so important and how do our sell-through targets align to this? So in my early days of being a wholesaler, I was selling to department stores all over the world and they were all asking me for 30, 60-day terms and then giving me a sell-through goal. And I was like, yeah, great, sell-through 4% a week. Oh, that's fantastic. What does that mean? Well, why do they keep talking about sell-through? Well, it's directly linked to the payment terms. So what those guys wanted to do with me was to sell enough of my shoes in order to pay my invoice by the time it was due. And by extending out the payment terms, it just took the pressure off a little bit and also meant they could order a little bit more. But they didn't want to be, paying out of someone else's sale. So the brand must always stand on its own 2 feet and be able to pay for its purchase orders. That's why any of you who might be selling to wholesalers, sometimes you'll see the brands, the wholesale clients come back to you and ask you for rebates. Well, we didn't sell as well as we would have thought. Can you fund the difference? Can you fund this? Why? Is because if it hasn't met sell-through targets and it hasn't generated enough revenue to pay your invoice, they're going to claw that back off you somehow. That's how the business model works. And it's ruthless, right? But it's tough. And we need to run our businesses like that. And I'm going to show you how to do that. All right. So what sell-through targets should I aim for? And so all of you in retail or online retail should have sell-through targets. In other words, if I buy, 100 t-shirts and I sell 30 within the first month, I've sold through 30%. I've had a 30% sell-through in the first month. Now, how do you set your sell-through targets? Well, it's simply your cover targets, right? So if your cover that I've told you need, based on the formula that I said earlier, not based on what 3 months is not for everybody, 2 months, 1 month, 4 months, whatever it is, you need to have sold through all of that stock within 3 months. Right? So you need to have had a 100% sell-through in 3 months. Or if your cover target is 4 months, you should have sold 100% after 4 months. So let's use that example. Let's say that you're on a 4-month lead time, right? So how much of that stock should you have sold in the first 30 days, in the first month, if you're on a 4-month target sell-through? You should have sold 25%. So if you sell 25% in the first month, another 25 in the second month, taking you to 50, another 25 in the third month, taking you to 75%, and the final 25% in the fourth month, you've hit your sell-through. So a lot of sophisticated retailers will calculate that down to a weekly target. So if I need to sell 100% over 4 months, how much do I need to sell a week? And some of you might be listening saying, aha, I get a weekly sell-through target from my buyer or from my suppliers or stockists or whatever. This is why. And so you break it down. And what that allows you to do early is to say, hey, this week we had a 3% sell-through. We need 9%. Guys, we're in a bit of trouble here. What are we going to do to boost the sales of this product up? Or why have we overordered? Or do we need to mark down? So we've really got to be, really tight on the sell-through. But anyway, so we set our sell-through targets. Now let's look at this, right? So I've said that, let's say we're paying no deposit. We're going to order $100,000 at retail worth of this t-shirt. I would never do that, but just for ease of conversation, let's say $100,000 I'm ordering of this t-shirt. And we've worked it out. Our lead times are 2 months, so I need a safety period of buffer of 30 days. So I need about 3 months worth of stock on this t-shirt. I've worked that out that's roughly $100,000 worth of this t-shirt. Yep, we're a pretty big company. We sell lots of t-shirts. All right. So for 3-month cover, how many of this t-shirt would I have sold? What would have my target sell-through been in month 1? It would have been 33% if I'm on track to sell over 3 months. If I'm coming in at 20%, I'm in trouble, right? If I'm at 40%, 50%, I'm reordering quickly because I'm over-indexing. And so what I'm doing is if I'm selling through 30% of this t-shirt in the first month, in the first 30 days, and my payment terms are 30 days, what was my COGS figure in this fabricated business? It was 30%. So how much of this t-shirt at $100,000 retail, what's the purchase order or cost value? The cost value is $30,000, right? 30% COGS. So in 30 days, I'm going to get a bill from my supplier for $30,000 for those t-shirts. Now in 30 days, I've also sold 33% of those t-shirts because my sell-through target is aligned to making sure that I've sold enough stock to fund my supplier, right? To fund my purchase order. So I've sold through 33%. That's great. I've got $33,000 in the bank after month 1. My supplier says, can I have that invoice paid? I say, yep, I've got the funds right here. That's literally how it works, guys. Now let's just take this back a step and change your payment terms. So if you're a supplier, right? If your supplier says we've got 5-month lead times, so then you need a month's worth of safety stock. So you've got to order 6 months, and you say this 6 months worth of stock, right? 6 months worth of forward cover. And you say to your supplier, hey, give me 30-day payment terms. It's useful, but it's not game changing. And here's why. On this t-shirt at $100,000, now need to order more than $100,000. You need to order $200,000 because you're ordering for 6 months cover due to those pesky lead times. You don't want that, but you have to so that you're not out of stock. Because out of stocks will cost you. You'll lose momentum, you'll lose revenue, you'll lose customers, etc. So I've got to order $200,000. Now, if I've only generated $33,000 in the first 30 days, then that's not enough to pay the $60,000 bill, which is 30% of 200. That's not enough. So I'm in trouble. So I've only got half. So I go to my supplier and I say, look, with your long lead times, I actually need 60-day payment terms. In 60 days, I'll have generated enough revenue. I will have sold, $60,000 worth of stock, or $66,000. I'll have enough revenue in order to pay you. And that's literally how it works. So you want to say, look, my goal is my payment terms with my suppliers must be aligned so that I've sold enough in that period to pay you. That's how it works. Now you might be sitting there thinking, I'm just never going to get payment terms. Well, you got to. This is how it works. Payment terms will generate cash for you really, really quickly. And there are plenty of businesses that I work with who have never put $1 into their business since they started. They might have floated a bit of cash at the start, but then they're just bootstrapping. And that's why good businesses and good buyers watch cover like a hawk. We don't want too much cover. We need to be monitoring our sell-through. Does that make sense? That's really one of the keys. So what's the outcome if you're able to follow this strategy? So if you're able to execute this strategy, and it takes time, but start working on it, you're never going to have to pay out of your own pocket for stock. Your cash flow is going to improve dramatically, and your business will accrue cash significantly without needing additional funding, which means you get paid dividends quicker. So for example, let's say you place a $135,000 purchase order at 70% margin. By selling 33% in month 1 with a 3-month sell-through, your revenue has covered the entire cost of the order. The remaining dollars that you collect over the 3 months is pure cash, not profit, right? But it's sort of cash positive. So that's cash that you can go and invest in new product. You can go and invest it in marketing, in other things. So it's a really simple idea and a really simple strategy, but it does work, right? Now, final thoughts on this would be that cash flow problems sink even profitable businesses. That happens all the time, right? I know that sounds strange, but it does. By applying this strategy, you can turn stock purchasing from a liability into an asset that funds your business growth. It's all about ordering the right amount of stock, pricing for high margins, negotiating smart payment terms, and aligning your sell-through targets to your payment terms. Or the other way around, aligning your payment terms to your sell-through, which is also linked to your supplier lead times. So try and work on short lead times with your suppliers and line up some payment terms. And remember, if you don't ask, you don't get. But I want to just stress the importance of this, and it can be a game changer. I've seen it. If you're a company that's constantly having to borrow, or you've got way too much stock, or you're feeling the financial pressure, sales is not always the answer. It's that you probably don't know your business well enough. Please take this tip, apply it into your business. Know that it can be done. If your supplier's too rigid, go and see them. If they're still too rigid, you might need to be looking for a new supplier, because far better to let your suppliers fund your growth than you borrowing it. Now, sometimes clients say, well, they'll do it, but they want to take 3% off the margin or increase prices a little bit. And I would say to that, well, how much is it going to cost you if you have to take money off your mortgage or off your Amex or off a loan? That is still often the cheapest money you can get from your supplier. I hope that makes sense. I hope that's a good tip. Follow me on socials at Paul Waddy eCommerce. Let me know your thoughts. Share this with someone you think might be worthwhile. You can see more on my website, learnecommerce.com, and you can subscribe to the newsletter if you like to read it. See more of these tips on my YouTube channel, Paul Waddy eCommerce, or my Instagram, Paul Waddy eCommerce, or on TikTok, and drop these tips daily. So I hope you liked that edition. We'll see you next week. Thanks, guys.